over upward, and the NYXL stand finally at the top.
This week in the Overwatch League, New York are crowned as the Stage 2 champions, but it was the Philadelphia Fusion who really upset the odds. Shanghai's Geggery arrives in time for her debut in Stage 3, the Dallas Fuel's new main tank player is suspended, and Rascal speaks out on their internal issues. Plus, we've got all the latest news, signing rumours and the best highlights from the past week.
Oh, charge!
The Stage 2 playoffs are of course the big story of the week, and New York and London both had smooth journeys reaching them, but it was the third and final spot that saw the most competition. Going into the week, it looked like a two-horse race between the LA Gladiators and the Seoul Dynasty, with the Philadelphia Fusion having just an 8.1% chance of taking the spot for themselves. However, these predictions were thrown completely out the window in the very first game of the week, as the Fusion defeated the Gladiators.
By Neptuno down via Sherfor, they need to get this pick and it gets them!
With this win, Philadelphia's chances had slightly improved, but they were still a very long shot, as the mighty Seoul Dynasty became the new favourites. However, once again the odds were turned on their heads, as the Houston Outlaws got a massive upset and finished Stage 2 on a high note with a 3-1 victory over Seoul.
Thank you, Malik, and part of my language, but shit just got real. That win by Houston is going to change everything up for the rest of the week.
After this, Philly's chances drastically rose to over 60%, and with a second victory, this time over the Valiant, and then the Gladiators losing to the Uprising on Saturday, Philadelphia secured their third place spot.
They can be patient, Earth Shatter comes through as well. Counter Shatter! Oh, look at the big grab! What a combo from Philadelphia Fusion!
So this left us with London and Philadelphia having to play the first match on Sunday to see who would go on to face New York in the final. London were the clear favourites, having beaten the Fusion earlier in the stage in a 4-0 sweep, but the Philadelphia team continued to prove that they have no respect for the odds, as they beat out London in a gruelling 5-map series thanks to some fantastic changes to their strategy. In particular, Fraggy's Winston was much more conservative than earlier in the season, and he invested a lot more of his abilities into protecting his back line rather than going all in on the attack. This shored up the Fusion's biggest weakness, which was their supports often being left out in the cold, and it got them the win.
And that's a play that Fraggy would not have made, Doa, the last time these teams played.
Yes.
He pops his primal to head to his backline and save them off of the London dive. Previously, he was investing his cooldowns to jump forward, and that would be counter Do. This is the work, clearly, that the Fusion and their coaching staff have been doing after the last meeting they have with London, and they look so much better.
However, although they lost, the Spitfire still came away with something to their name, as their insanely quick 29-second capture of the first point of King's Row actually broke the world record for the fastest capture at this point in Overwatch LAN tournament history.
Now Fury goes up there to knock him off of the high ground with the Matrix. They make him look easy, so just roll in.
So now Philadelphia set their eyes on the final in what ended up being our match of the week as they took on the New York XL.
You guys ready? All right, well, let's go ahead and send it over to my boys, Uber and Mr. X.
Born ready, Malik.
The first map took them to Route 66, and after Philadelphia had beaten London there just moments earlier, they were more than happy to double down and take an early lead in this series.
Arc trying to get it across the line, push back, overtime down. Map 1, Philadelphia Fusion.
Map 2 was Lijiang Tower, and the XL came out swinging, taking the first point. However, the Fusion refused to go down without a fight, and began to really focus down Meko. With him out of the picture, New York crumbled, giving the Fusion a 2-0 lead going into halftime, and putting them just one win away from being crowned Stage 2 champions.
Right, but they've set themselves far back in terms of percentage on the point.
Start the stick! Perfect for Carpe!
However, after halftime, New York gave Philly a reality check with a great hold on Voskaya Industries before an attack round that was pretty much over as soon as Libero pulled the trigger, bringing the series to 2-1, and proving that New York should never be underestimated.
With not only the Sombra, but also the May. There it is, Libero with 2! Set her up and he'll knock him down. It's a game of dominoes and the Fusion just can't win.
Map 4 took us to Hollywood, a map that both teams had good records on, but it was New York who were able to bring their momentum from the previous victory into this game and take the win, tying everything up and forcing a Game 5.
And New York now are looking to be collecting their pound of flesh. It's going to be a rough one here.
It all came down to this. Philadelphia are on the precipice of completely upsetting the odds, while New York were looking at completing the reverse sweep as we went to Gibraltar. Both teams fought tooth and nail, but in the end, it was New York taking away the win, closing out the reverse sweep, netting themselves $100,000 and the title of Stage 2 champions.
Fashion way, but it won't be enough. Ever upward, and the NYXL stand finally at the top.
After being reverse swept by London in the Stage 1 finals, this was a great result for New York, who are now pretty much undeniably the best Overwatch team in the world, but this was also a huge week for Philadelphia. Starting off the week with almost no chance of making the playoffs, in the end they almost won them. Considering they played 10 games over the course of the day, fatigue was clearly a factor, and it felt like after halftime they lost the adrenaline that they had been running on up until that point, and as a result were unable to wrap things up. Still, huge congratulations to the NYXL, our Stage 2 champions. The playoffs weren't the only big news this week, as the Dallas Fuel continue to make headlines. The first bit of news to break was a 4-match suspension for their newly signed main tank player OGE for account boosting. However, it might not matter at all, as thanks to a happy accident this week that involved Taimu missing a scrim, Mickey ended up picking up the main tank role as Seagull replaced him on D.Va. And although it seems pretty crazy to have now changed their main tank 4 times in the past couple months, this new lineup actually seemed to be working.
I've been so impressed with Mickey throughout the day, and not only just not being a liability, but knowing exactly when he can go in and when he can't. It's going to be natural for Mickey to be able to be with his other tank, because he knows where the D.Va wants to be. He's been a D.Va specialist since before D.Va specialists existed. He knows where his tanks are going to be at all times. That's why I think this combination could be the new front line for Dallas.
They pushed New York to a Game 5 and took a map off London this week, 2 games that on paper, Dallas should have been crushed in. Now, don't get too excited if you're a Fuel fan. It's likely that both London and New York didn't really focus on this game as they were both looking towards the playoffs, but it is undeniable that this is the best the Fuel have looked at this stage.
No escape. And we're all gone. This is shaping up nicely here for Dallas Fuel.
Unfortunately, the final bit of news around this team revolves around their numerous internal issues, particularly related to coaching and player disputes. Rascal talked on his stream about their internal troubles, in particular his attempts to try and improve the team being met with resistance and his frustration at the lack of any real improvement that the team is making. Most of the issues he's reporting on seem to stem from work ethic. Scrimming and mechanical skill is just not enough in the Overwatch League, and from Rascal's report, it seems the team, and in particular the coach, are not willing to put in the long hours of VOD reviewing, discussion, analysis, and planning that are required to improve, and as a result, we see Dallas falling behind as the rest of the teams around them improve. Full translations of the stream are available on the competitive Overwatch subreddit. There has been one official signing this week, and that was Void joining the LA Gladiators. He's regarded as one of the best divas in the world and is Fish's old teammate. It was a signing that we expected to see happen, and it makes a lot of sense to bring him on board. The transfer window will be coming to a close at the start of Stage 3, and rumours are swirling as the teams make their final moves. The first is that the LA Valiant could be looking to trade away Soon and Unco, as reports of tension within the team rise. It's been reported that they could be talking to the Dallas Fuel, who are considering rebuilding in a number of positions. Moving Soon and Unco here would reunite them with their old rogue teammate AKM, but reportedly the Valiant are looking to trade for a Korean Tracer player to mesh with their team, and I don't think swapping away Effect is a good move for Dallas unless Effect himself wishes to leave.
You're the one who has to turn up. You have to find these kills. Big plays. Oh, yeah, boy.
The Shanghai Dragons' new players have now started to arrive, and we've seen a couple in action. Gegari is also now in the States, and is expected to make her debut in Stage 3. Their newly signed coach and player Sky have both been issued with visas, and will be on their way soon. However, Dia and Undead, who both travelled back to China, are now waiting on their new visas to return to LA, so it's unclear what their lineup will look like in the opening games of Stage 3. As we take a look at the overall standings, there are a few interesting things to note. New York's obvious dominance remains clear, having only dropped 2 games in the regular season and now securing the title of Stage 2 champions. London seems to be the only team that can touch them, having won 2 of the 3 games they've played, but London is also less consistent in their other games, and it will be hard for them to really close the gap unless New York slips up. The teams at the bottom of the league, such as Shanghai, Dallas, Florida and the Shock, are technically still able to make the playoffs, but the odds are very much against them and would require some impressive winning streaks. Houston have had a rough Stage 2, dropping from the 2nd seed down to 5th, but they still hold on to a good map differential, meaning that they're in a good position to climb. The opposite can be said of Philadelphia, who have climbed but have a low map differential, putting them at risk of being overtaken by Houston if they can recover in Stage 3. The LA teams are the only two outside of the top 6 with a real chance of climbing back in. To do this, the Gladiators will need to start to secure some 4-0 sweeps over lesser teams to improve their map score, while the Valiant simply needs to sort out their internal struggles that have hurt them in Stage 2. So there are no matches next week as we have a break before Stage 3 starts, so instead in our next video we'll be taking a look at how the new meta will impact the teams, including the changes to Sombra and Blizzard World entering the map pool. We'll let you know which teams to keep a close eye on as we go into Stage 3 and what some of the struggling teams will be doing to try and improve their chances. Let me know your predictions for Stage 3 in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, this is James for Cass saying thanks for watching and enjoy the game.